Let's see if we can go ahead and get started and get this knocked out. We're going to knock out Balaam today. We're going to finish talking about this poor guy. We've said a lot of things about him. For those of you who haven't been here, I know several of you are here that haven't been here. We are going through the wilderness wanderings, okay? The Exodus from Egypt. So it's been a long journey, and we've been walking through this. Well, what happens in the book of Numbers is there's this little break from the children of Israel, and they start talking about their enemies, the kingdoms of Moab and Midian, who have kind of joined forces here to stop Israel, because Israel's coming in, they're taking over land, and they don't want to be taken over. So they've joined forces, and they hired a prophet and a sorcerer named Balaam. Okay? Balaam's problem is that Balaam has his own agenda, because Balak, the king of Moab, promises Balaam a whole lot of money and a whole lot of power and a whole lot of position if he will curse Israel. And Balaam should have known better. Balaam did know better, but Balaam went anyway, and 3 times he tried to curse Israel, and 3 times God turned his curse into a blessing. To the point where when we left off last week, Balak, you could kind of say he kind of cussed Balaam out. And he just told him, I told you to bless or to curse them, and now you've blessed them these 3 times. And he told him that the Lord has kept you from honor, because now I was going to give you everything, and now I'm not going to do squat for you. That was where we left off. A little temper tantrum there. Okay, they had a cow. See, Tyler, it's not just us ladies. He had a cow. Okay. So we're going to pick up right there in Numbers chapter 24, and I'm going to read through a lot of these verses because I want to get to basically the end of the story. This is where Balaam is answering Balak, okay? So in Numbers 24, verse 12, and Balaam said unto Balak, who is the king of Moab, Spake I not also to thy messengers, which thou sentest unto me, saying, If Balak would give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the commandment of the Lord, to do either good or bad of mine own mind, but what the Lord saith, that will I speak. He did say that. He did tell the messengers that. Yep. But then he said, but I'll go with you anyway. Okay? That was Balaam's problem. But he said, I did tell you this. I warned you from the beginning. Now, behold, I go to my people. Come therefore, and I will advertise thee what this people shall do to thy people in the latter days. I think Balaam here has got a little bit of an attitude towards Balak, because Balak just told him, I take everything back. And he says, well, I'm getting ready to go home, but before I go, I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen to your people, what these people that you wanted me to curse, what they're going to do to your people. So listen close. Okay, listen close. You're starting to like Balaam. Don't like him too much. And he took up his parable and said, Balaam, the son of Beor, hath said, and the man whose eyes are open hath said. And Balaam is the man whose eyes were open. Remember, he saw the angel. He hath said, which heard the words of God, and knew the knowledge of the Most High, which saw the vision of the Almighty, falling into a trance, but having his eyes open. Does that sound like Balaam's? He's like, I didn't know what I was doing, but now I see, and now I've heard the voice of the Almighty, and now I've heard the Most High, now I'm going to speak to you on what God says. So you're like, yes, Balaam, he got it. I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Sheth. That is a prophecy of Jesus coming. The star out of Jacob, the scepter. Scepter means rod of David. That's Jesus. He is prophesying Jesus coming right here to Balak. How awesome. And I don't even know if Balaam understood who he was talking about at this point. He just knew there was coming somebody, something that was going to just wipe out Moab, okay? And all the children of Sheth, yeah. And Edom, they'll be gone. Edom shall be a possession. Seir also shall be a possession for his enemies, and Israel shall do valiantly. Out of Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion, and shall destroy him that remaineth of the city. You're all toast. And when he looked at Amalek, he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be he that perish forever. And he looked on the Kenites and took up his parable and said, Strong is thy dwelling place, and thou puttest thy nest in a rock. Nevertheless, the Kenites shall be wasted, until Asher shall carry thee away captive. And he took up his parable and said, Alas, who shall live when God doeth this? I mean, basically he said, you're going to die, and you're going to die, and you're going to die, and you're going to die. Oh, and you're going to die. Who's going to live? Israel. Israel. God's people. God's people. And ships shall come from the coast of Shittim, and shall afflict Asher, and shall afflict Eber, and he also shall perish forever. And Balaam rose up, and went, and returned to his place, and Balak also went his way. They parted company, and not on good terms, it seems like. Balak told Balaam off, Balaam told Balak off, wah wah. So we're thinking, yes, Balaam. After all that Balaam's been through, he finally got it, right? No. For those of you that were here last night, remember I talked about, and for those of you that weren't, how we get sometimes on that wrong path, and we need God to come rebuke us and get us set back on the right path. Well, God has rebuked Balaam several times. We've seen it. But you know what Balaam's problem was? He shrugged it off and kept going down that path. We saw he went with the messengers, and then the next thing we know, he's there in Moab, and then the next thing we see, he's on the high places of Baal. I mean, good grief. And he's just going further and further and further away from God, and God keeps rebuking him and keeps trying to set him on the right path, and he keeps saying, well, maybe God will change his mind. Well, maybe God will, peradventure God will do this. Why? Why doesn't Balaam learn his lesson? Why doesn't he get back on that right road? There's a verse that tells us why in 1 Timothy, and it's not speaking specifically about Balaam, but if you read the verse, it is. And they that will be rich. That doesn't mean those that are destined to be rich. It's those that want so much, so badly, to be rich. Fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. Doesn't that sound like Balaam? Snare, temptation. Remember he told them no and he sent them on their way? But then they came back and they said, well, he's willing to give you more. Balak's willing to give you this. And Balaam said, well, here, I'll go ask God again. Temptation, snare. I could have money. I could be famous. I could do this and I could do that. And he started thinking about all the things he could do and all the things he could buy. And it just kept, those little dollar signs rolling around. But notice the end of this verse, it says, which drown men in destruction and perdition. It doesn't say necessarily that it drowns the one who wants to be rich. Or just the one who wants to be rich. Because when we get our sights so focused on what we want, not only do we hurt ourselves and our testimony and our walk with God, but we can lead other people astray. And we can hurt other people. And we can lead other people into destruction and perdition. And ladies, that's what Balaam did. And we know this from other passages in the Bible that I'm going to show you in just a minute. You have to kind of read between the lines a little bit. So the exact story you can't really pinpoint. But the Bible makes it clear that Balaam didn't walk away right here and go back to his home and say, I'm done with that, I'm ready to serve God. And this is how we know. In Jude, verse 11, woe unto them, for they have gone in the way of Cain. Cain was a murderer. And ran greedily after the error of Balaam for reward, and perished in the gainsaying of Kor. This is Kor as in Korah. Remember Korah, who the ground opened up and swallowed him whole because he was, I'm going to be Moses and I'm going to be in charge and I'm just as important as he is. So we have a murderer. We have Balaam, who went after, he was greedy. And then we have Kor, who was envious. And they're all lumped there together. It's like equal. equal to a murderer? Yeah, he was equal to a murderer. And we'll get to that in a minute. Revelation talks about Balaam. Revelation 2, verse 14, Jesus is talking to the churches. Okay, and one of the churches he says, "But I have a few things against thee, because thou hast there them that hold the doctrine of Balaam." Look what it says here. "Who taught Balak to cast a stumbling block before the children of Israel, to eat things sacrificed unto idols, and to commit fornication." Say, what now? Balaam, who taught Balak how to put a stumbling block. See, here's what I think happened, based on especially that verse right there. Balaam found out he couldn't curse God, or curse God's people, because every time he tried, God flipped the words around and turned it into a blessing. But Balaam didn't want to give up his money, and he didn't want to give up his riches. And even though we see that whole big altercation there between him and Balak went his way and Balaam went that way, at some point, either before that or after that, they got back together. And Balaam said, "Okay, here's the deal. Can't curse them. We already tried that. Tried that 3 times. It didn't work. But here's what you can do. Here's what I've heard about the Israelites. They like women. Those men, they've been traveling for a long time. It gets lonely out on the road, and they like pretty girls. So all you got to do, if you want to destroy Israel, stop trying to destroy them from the outside. Destroy them from the inside. All you got to do is send in your pretty girls. And those men will see those pretty girls, and they will commit fornication, sinning against God. And how long do you think it takes for those pretty girls to turn their heads and say, "Well, I serve Baal, and it's the same thing as God, so why don't you just come worship Baal with me?" And those guys go, "Oh, okay." Because that's what guys do when they see a pretty girl. "Oh, okay." Because those girls had them wrapped around their finger. So now we have the children of Israel who are mingling, and if you recall, and I should have pulled up this verse, but I didn't, way back at the beginning when God was giving them all those rules about, okay, we're going to come into this land, and there's going to be strangers. I'm going to drive the strangers out, but you need to pay attention because it's dangerous and things can happen, and you need to be aware and you need to be on guard, and at no point whatsoever should you go mingling with these people because they will lead you astray. They will lead you astray. See, God knew their hearts. God knew how we've seen how easily they're swayed. He knew. As soon as they started mingling with those people, that those people were going to lead them astray. So he had already told them. And you remember he gave them that hall, he gave them the orders, and they said, "All that the Lord has said we will do. All that the Lord has," and they kept repeating that, "All that the Lord has said we will do." You're not doing it. You're not doing it. Because if we go back to our first passage where we were in Numbers, okay, we were reading Numbers 24. We read all the way to the end of Numbers 24, where Balaam and Balak parted company. Okay. The very next verse in Numbers 25, verse 1. Israel abode in Shittim, that's where they were staying, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab. Oh, Balaam. Oh, Balaam. Honestly, I don't know why God let Balaam live, because he knew he was going to do this. But I have to believe that God was honoring his own creation and that he gave us choice. I get so tired of people saying, "Well, God made me this way, so if I'm bad, then that's because God made me bad. If God, if my heart's evil, it's because God made it evil." No, 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 no. God gave you a choice. God gave you a choice. He gave you a vessel, and what you fill that vessel with is up to you. I see several of you have cups this morning, okay? Nobody handed you a cup of something and said, this is yours, you're stuck with it, you drink it. You got an empty cup, and you got to fill it with whatever you wanted, right? God gives us this vessel, and he says, you have a choice. You can choose right, you can choose wrong, but it's your choice. God gave Balaam a choice. Balaam, I am urging you, I am pleading with you, I am trying to get through to you. Choose the right path. And we think Balaam is, and it looks like he is, but something happened. Or maybe he just never changed. I don't know. But he got with Moab, got with Balak, the king of Moab, and the king of Midian, we're going to see in a minute. He got with him too. Oh, let's get with two of Israel's enemies, not just one. Yeah, let's just double it up. And he teaches him how to destroy Israel from inside out. Wow. Wow. Balaam had issues. But ladies, we may not be going after money like that, but sometimes we get our heart and our mind so set on something that we want that we don't think about what God wants. It's like, but even a good thing. I mean, we talked about Martha last night. You know, Martha was doing a good thing. Martha was serving God. Serving God is a wonderful thing. But Jesus said, but Mary's chosen the better thing. See, there are good things, and there are better things, and there are best things. And so many times we so run after those good things that God says, well, I have better and best, and you're totally ignoring those because you've got your heart and mind so set on what you think is best for you. But that's not best for you. This is best for you. You just don't see it. That's what he was trying to show Balaam. He said, Balaam, you don't need money. You don't need fame. I know it sounds nice, and trust me, y'all, I'd love to have some money, you know? And I know we all talk about, we have more money to help missionaries, and that's true. But let's be honest, sometimes we go out and buy new clothes too, wouldn't we? Yeah, But it would be nice to have money. But God said, that's not what you need, Balaam. What you need is to follow me. What you need is what I want to give you down the road. But I don't think Balaam ever got what was waiting him down the road. Because if we jump over to Numbers 31, and they, Israel, warred against the Midianites, as the Lord commanded Moses, and they slew all the males. Catch this verse. And they slew the kings of Midian, beside the rest of them that were slain, namely Evi, and Rechem, and Zur, and Hur, and Reba, 5 kings of Midian. Balaam also, the son of Beor, they slew with the sword. He died. He died with the enemy. What was Balaam doing in Midian? That wasn't his home. Do you see what happened to Balaam? He got in with the wrong crowd, he got further and further and further, and now he's living in their land. He's living in their land, probably in some palace that they built for him.
But he knows, I don't understand it, he knows Israel, he just told the guy he's gonna kill them all.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing. Thank you.
They're coming to kill me. I'm not going to be there.
Thank you. You know what that tells me?
Take your money and run. I mean, come on, at least do that.
At least do that. That's what I'm thinking. Thank you. I'm glad you saw that too. I'm thinking, okay, you just went through this whole big thing about how everybody was going to be destroyed except for Israel. All those you live in a faraway land where Israel wasn't coming. And I can't remember the name of his land. I'd have to look it up. Beor is his father's name, but Pethor or something like it was something. I forgot. I was put a map in there and I forgot that too. But anyway, he lived somewhere else. He would have been safe. Take your money and run like the coward you are. But I think he thought he could get something more if he stayed. They've been good to me, they've paid me, and I'm famous here. I'm a hero here. I mean, don't you know he was a hero? I'm a hero, I'm respected, everybody knows who I am. Back in my hometown, I'm just Balaam the prophet. They don't know any of this. So he stays there. But you just
thinks, oh, we're going to be okay.
Yeah, I don't know what he thought. What I honestly think is he just didn't believe what he said. Even though it came out of his own mouth, I don't think he believed it. Or maybe he thought it was, someday this is going to happen. Someday they're going to be destroyed. But he goes right to the place where he just prophesied was going to be destroyed. And he hangs out with the enemy. And it cost him his life. And he died in sin. He died with the enemy. I don't know. I know at one point he calls him my Lord, which tells me Balaam was at least claiming God. But through everything we've seen of Balaam, there was no fruit. He was okay to be on Baal's high places. He was okay to worship the other sacrifices. He's okay to hang out with Moab and Midian in their land of Baal worship and human sacrifice and all. He's okay with all that. I don't know where Balaam is today.
But would it exist back then? I don't know how this works. It may sound stupid to everybody else, but like now that we get saved or whatever, if we go past, God can turn us over to a reprobate mind. We don't even remember that we're saved anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But did that exist before?
I would think so. Mm-hmm.
Like maybe put blinders on him?
Yeah, just the blinders, yeah. Well, we know he had blinders on before where he didn't see the angel.
He cursed himself with the love of money.
He cursed himself with the love of money.
Well, didn't it say he was standing there with his eyes open like as in a trance?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like...
That's exactly what it said. But he said, now my eyes are open. He's like, as one whose eyes are open. Evidently his eyes...
pretty quick, didn't they?
Yeah, evidently his eyes weren't opened as much as he thought they were. Evidently they weren't. But if you go down a few more verses, and I'll need to close, it says that they killed all the men of Midian. Well, they saved all the women. You don't want women and children to be killed, okay? I understand that. But wasn't that what started the problem? Was the men wanted the women? So if you keep these women, what's going to happen? Okay? So Moses is angry, God is angry, and this is what he says. Behold, these women caused the children of Israel through the counsel of Balaam to commit trespass against the Lord in the matter of Peor. And there was a plague among the congregation of the Lord. There was a plague because then we're going to get to that, Lord willing, next week. But these women, through the counsel of Balaam. Well, okay, in Revelation it says Balaam counseled Balak, the king of Moab. This is the women of Midian. So guess what? Balaam's working both sides of the fence. He went over to Balak and said, now I'm going to let you in on a little secret. And he tells him how to put the stumbling block. Then he goes over to Midian and he goes to their 5 kings and says, I'm going to tell you a little secret. It's not a secret. You shared it with Moab. He's trying to get them. And they were on both sides because Midian was further down and Moab was further up. They thought, okay, we'll come from both sides. We'll bring pretty girls this way and pretty girls that way, and they won't be able to resist. And they didn't. They couldn't resist. And now Israel, they were doing good. They're getting ready. They're in this promised land entryway. And now, because of one man, they are all messed up again. It's like starting all over again. If you don't think you can make a difference, look at Balaam. one person can make a difference for the good or for the bad. All it takes is one person. And we see a lot more of that one person for the bad. I mean, we look at Hitler and Stalin, and, our history is filled with these maniacs. I mean, really, they're maniacs. Even the Bible, I mean, look at Herod and Pilate, and one man. But we know one man who made a difference too. Okay? And because of that, he lives in us, which means we can make a difference. But, oh, ladies, we have to be so careful. We have to be so careful that we don't get on that wrong road, on that, well, this is what I want. Well, this is what I think is best. Well, this is what I think I deserve. We have to be so, so careful. Because I want to go back to that verse in 1 Timothy. They that will be rich, it doesn't just mean in money. It means in whatever it is we want, whatever it is we're lusting after. We'll fall into temptation and snare and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. I know when we get to heaven we don't have to answer for our sin because our sins are paid for, and I understand that. But I almost wonder if we would see the rewards maybe that we would have gotten. Say, those were supposed to be for you, but you strayed from the path. I don't know that he will. Probably not, because that's just, Jesus is so gracious and forgiving. But I don't want to stand before him either, knowing that I led somebody astray. That I drown men in destruction because of my example. Because I wanted something so badly that I wouldn't surrender to God's will. And it's easy to want things badly, Those who experience pain on a daily basis. Do you want to feel better? Would you love to have a morning where you wake up and nothing hurts? Do you sometimes want that so bad that you're willing to give just about anything for it? Guilty. But sometimes God says, I gave you that pain for a reason, and there's something I'm trying to teach you through it. So instead of wishing it away, learn from it. Like Martha did. And what we talked about last night, she learned from it, she meditated on it, she took it to heart, and she became a better person. Balaam never became a better person, but we can. And that is my challenge to you this week. And I gotta let you go, or we're gonna be late. That's the finish of Balaam. We're done with him, he's dead. So we can move on to back into the children of Israel, Lord willing, next week. All right, let's pray, and we'll be dismissed. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you so much for this day. We thank you for these lessons, Lord. It's hard sometimes to look at these others' lives, both good and bad, because, Lord, sometimes we see ourselves in those who were living a life that wasn't pleasing to you, and it's very convicting, Lord, but I thank you that you love us enough to convict our hearts and to help us to want to change, to be better for you. Lord, I pray for each and every lady in here, Lord, that you would touch her life. I pray, God, that you would give them strength to seek your will above all else. In Jesus' name, amen.